Okay.
Hello and welcome. Christopher Johnson. I'm based in Metro Detroit. And what I do, I specialize in producing professional virtual events for nonprofits and member organizations like Feeding America or Culture. And whether it's a webinar or annual meeting or a conference, I make the tech run smoothly so these organizations or individuals can focus on their mission. And I'll put my information in the chat if you'd like to connect. Now, in terms of Zoom, if you have a question, you can place that question in the chat by typing in the word question first and then your question. That way, it is easier for us to capture. Additionally, show up the way you would like to show up. So you can rename yourself by clicking on your own video. If you're on a PC, right click on your own video and select rename. If you're on a Mac, click on your own video, the three dots in the corner, and select rename and rename yourself to how you would like to be addressed during this meeting. Whether that's just your first name or your full name, set yourself up for success by renaming yourself to how you would like to be addressed. Additionally, if captions would help you better participate in the meeting, you can click on the CC, which will give you the closed captions, and you'll be able to participate that way. If you have any questions or qualms or problems, you can place them in the chat and we'll get them addressed as swiftly as possible. Diana.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful. I'm so glad you're here today. And then Brenda, I'd like you to introduce yourself too, and then we'll do your presentation in a few minutes. But we have our guest of honor, Brenda Miller, here today.
Hello there, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day or happy Friday if you choose not to celebrate Valentine's Day. Delighted to see all of you here today. My name is Brenda Meller. I am specializing in LinkedIn, and I do that through LinkedIn coaching, team training, conferences. Got some online courses, all kinds of fun stuff. And in preparation for today, I didn't create a presentation for you. No, instead, I wrote down 5 tips on a post-it note. And this is one of the techniques that you can think about as a job seeker when you're trying to share your expertise. You probably have 5 things you could talk about. You could probably put it on a post-it note. Here's 5 things I could talk about right now. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some LinkedIn tips with you. I put into chat the name of the topic, but it's going to be 5 ways to love LinkedIn as a job seeker.
Perfect. All about the love today. We're looking forward to that. That's great. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to do a few minutes of our relaxation exercise that I always start every one of my group meetings with. So get yourself comfortable wherever you're sitting in your chair. And we're going to close your eyes. Or if you'd like to leave them open, you can, but it usually is a little more relaxing when you close your eyes. We're going to start with our 4 deep breaths in through the nose and then out through the mouth. So our first deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Second deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Third deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And fourth deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then for our relaxation body scan, starting with the top of your head, just relax the muscles. Start with the top of the head, and we move to the face, your neck, your shoulders, your arms all the way down to your hands, your chest, your stomach area, your hips area, your glutes and thighs, and then your knees all the way down to your feet. Let everything relax. And just sit with that and be with that for a minute. Continue your breathing in and out. And as the thoughts come into your brain, just let them flitter away like clouds. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And welcome. Happy Valentine's Day. All right. What this hour is going to look like is Brenda will do her presentation for us. We'll have Q&A on the presentation, and then we'll have a few minutes to share wins and any questions that you may have about your job search. Then I'm going to close out the last 15 minutes with a presentation around mindful job alignment for those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, as well as giving you a preview of a special event that I'm going to be hosting at the end of the month. I would highly encourage you to actively use the chat and to put in the URL for your LinkedIn profile so that you can be networking through the chat, look to see who's here that you would like to connect with. And I would also very much encourage you to be saving the chat so that you can go back and reference it on your computer when the meeting is completed. Brenda, I'm going to turn it over to you for your great demonstration on LinkedIn.
All right. Thank you, Diana. I just need to pull up my LinkedIn in the
Sure.
background here. What I'd like to do today is to give you a few tips. I'm going to keep this to 5 tips on things that you can do. And I'm calling this 5 ways to love LinkedIn as a job seeker. If you missed me at the beginning, I wrote these on a post-it note. I'm not doing any slide deck or anything like that. Instead, what I'd like to do is just to be very conversational in the tips that I share with you. I'm going to navigate to LinkedIn and I'll have you follow along on LinkedIn if you're able to do. If you've got like a dual monitor, you can follow on a second screen. Or maybe if you're watching this on your laptop, you can pull LinkedIn up on your phone and you can navigate along with me or just watch it. And Diana, did you say that you're recording this? Is there
I
a
am
way,
recording it, yes.
is there a place that the audience could watch the playback?
Yes, they'll be able to watch it on YouTube,
Okay,
on my
perfect.
YouTube channel.
Good. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to pull up LinkedIn in here. So I'm going to give you 5 ways to love LinkedIn as a job seeker. And I want to start first with I've been where you are. I've been in career transition. It's a roller coaster of emotions that you're on. And I know that for many of you, you are in career transition not by choice, which we'll use the relationship analogy since we're on Valentine's Day. It's like you're in a relationship and you're either going through a breakup or a divorce, not by choice. You thought everything was fine, and all of a sudden, one day you got that tap on your shoulder from someone in HR, your manager asked to go to a conference room, maybe you brought into a Zoom call or sent an email. I've heard that happening as well. And all of a sudden, you're not part of that relationship, that work family anymore. You're now on the outside looking in, and you're thrown into this place where you're looking for a new job. And it's, like I said, it's a roller coaster of emotions. It's probably anger, frustration, sadness, depression. A lot of us tie our identity into our job. So if that job is taken away from us, who are we? We're going through a little bit of an existential crisis in there too. And then we have to pick ourselves up and put ourselves back onto the market to find our next employer. And you have to be positive going through that experience. And now you're faced with getting ghosted by recruiters, applying to job upon job and being ignored by people, and just this frustration, this grind that you go through as a job seeker. So, how can you love LinkedIn? I might be saying that you're going, you're crazy, Brenda. I'm not going to love LinkedIn. Let me give you a few ideas on ways that you can use LinkedIn to get a little bit of that mojo back for you, if you will. And the first is to direct message LinkedIn connections. People that know you, people that you have worked with throughout your career, maybe even people from your last job. Maybe these were other people who were let go at the same time as you. These are coworkers that you had really great working relationships with. Maybe when you left the organization, they said, "Hey, Brenda, if you ever need anything, let me know." And I want you to think about messaging them. Now, you can certainly just go into your connections. And when I'm navigating here, I'm starting with my network at the top. and then I click on connections. And you can, if you want to find these coworkers easily, you can just click on search with filters and then go into current company. I'm going to put Pitney Bowes, which was one of my past employers, not my latest one, but I'll just put that in there as an example. Click on show results, and this is going to show me all of my first level connections that were also employees at Pitney Bowes. Okay. So from here, you can find people that are on LinkedIn and then just click on message. Really easy to do. You can just send them a direct message. Hey, Jackie, how are things going for you in 2025? So the goal here is to send them a message to check in, right? And probably what's going to happen is they're going to message you back. Hey, Brenda, great to hear from you. Things are going pretty well here. And Jackie might say, my dog Annie, we just celebrated her fourth birthday. I saw a post that she did on Facebook earlier. And then she's probably going to say, how are things going with you? She may not know that I'm in career transition because Pitney Bowes was 2 or 3 employers ago, right? So now I have an opportunity to let her know I'm looking for my next dream job in a marketing VP position in Metro Detroit if you happen to hear of anything. And maybe I might even say, let me know if you'd be open to jumping on a call sometime to catch up. And we might do that on the evening or weekend because I know she's busy working right now. So I might offer that out. So the how can this help you to love LinkedIn is it can help to humanize the platform and it can help you to strengthen those relationships from the past, right? And you never know where those conversations will go. You might get somebody who is open to giving your resume a once over for you, referring you to positions, or just asking you some questions about how your job search is going and maybe giving you some advice on different things that you can do while you're in career transition. So direct message your connections. That's my first tip, my first way for you to love LinkedIn as a job seeker. All right. My second tip that I'll give to you is to request recommendations. So those same people that throughout your career, when you left that last employer and they said, if you ever need anything, let me know. Or think about even when you were working, who were the people, the vendors that you work with, the clients that you served, people in other departments. Maybe somebody sent you a kudos email or you got an employee of the month and it was nominated by someone, or it's a client that you had a really great working relationship with and you know they would give you a LinkedIn recommendation if you were to ask for one. So I'm going to use my friend Annette Richmond as an example here. What you'll need to do is, first of all, you need to be connected to them on LinkedIn. And as long as you're connected with them, you'll go under their More button and click on Request a Recommendation. Now, in this case, choose the category that fits best. Now, let's say Annette was a client of mine. So I'm just going to choose that and then choose the position that I worked at. Maybe I say marketing specialist at my former job. And I might just say, LinkedIn gives you some pre-populated text. Hi, Annette, would you write me a recommendation, please? I might say, I'm currently looking for my next position in marketing leadership in Metro Detroit. So anything that you can speak about that helps to illustrate my expertise in marketing would be greatly appreciated, right? This is another way to love LinkedIn as a job seeker. You can get these recommendations, request these recommendations from people. If you haven't done this yet, I highly recommend doing so. And then the beauty of this is after they give you a LinkedIn recommendation, you get the chance to review it. There's typos, you can message them back and say, hey, you spelled Brenda wrong. Can you fix that real quick? Or whatever. And then after they get that corrected, you will be able to accept it on your profile. And by the way, as we're going through this, I want you to scroll down to your recommendations section, click on Show All Pending, because you might find that you have a couple of pending recommendations in here that you weren't even aware of. Okay. Now, after I accept the recommendation on my profile, I'm going to see that it will sit in the received section and it's public. And this is a little bonus technique here. If you're having a bad day in your job search, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling a little bit down, maybe you're going through the emotions of maybe I wasn't as great as I thought I was. Maybe I wasn't as smart as marketing. Maybe I was living a lie the whole start reading through your recommendations. It's going to help to boost your mood. And it's almost like the equivalent of having a rainy day file where you put all the nice new notes and kudos and things in there, and you can read through that rainy day file when you're having a bad day, right? Recommendations can help to lift you up when you're feeling a bit down. Highly recommend requesting recommendations and then reading through those periodically. Okay, now the next tip, I'm going to stop the screen share for just a second because I want to see all of your faces in the audience here. How many of you hate the black hole of job search. You've heard me talk about this before. You're probably waving before I even say what it is. The black hole of job search. Now, for those of you who don't know what the black hole of job search is, I'm going to describe it and then you're going to go, yep, I hate it too. The black hole of job search, and a black hole is something that exists in the universe, which is energy sucking and pulling, and it pulls all light and mass. And I'm not a scientist, so follow along with me here, but it pulls everything away and it just goes into a void. When I say the black hole of job search, doesn't that kind of feel like what happens when you're searching for a job? You're applying to job upon job. You're very rarely getting anything back. If anything, it's an automated, thank you, we got your submission. Don't call us, we'll call you. Sometimes you don't even get that. 4 months go by and you get an automated email from their HR department saying the position was filled, and you're like, I don't even remember applying for that. It was so long ago. Thanks. That was 2 years ago, but I'm good. I'm right. And this feeling of helplessness. And I think about the black hole, if you're ever up in space and in the universe, I would imagine it pulls people in, right? You can't avoid it, this force. And I feel like, how can we avoid the black hole of job search? Is it just a necessary evil that exists in the world? So, my advice for you is when you're feeling that black hole of job search, it's probably because you're doing things like applying for jobs on the job board, creating a resume, creating a cover letter, going through their questionnaire. You're spending a lot of time doing things that are taking a lot of your time, and you're not getting any feedback from it. Does that make sense? So you're doing a lot of actions. It's almost like spinning your wheels. You're doing a lot of things, you're expending a lot of energy, you're not getting the response back, the two-way dialogue and interaction back. So when you're feeling that black hole, you're feeling burnt out, you're feeling frustrated, I want you to treat LinkedIn as your antidote. Okay. Y'all remember Superman, right? Kryptonite was it antidote, or what did they call it? I don't remember. But we have to like think about when you're feeling that feeling of helplessness, that feeling of dread, the feeling like the universe has control over you and you're at the mercy of this. That's the black hole. That's what that is. So I want you to go onto LinkedIn. Stop applying for jobs for that day. Okay. You've done enough. You've done enough for that day. Go on to LinkedIn, and here's what I want you to do. You should be keeping a log of all the jobs that you've applied for. So I want you to look up the companies that you've applied for jobs for. Go onto their company page on LinkedIn, and you should be following the company page. Like, let me actually demonstrate this as I'm going through. And I'm going to use Pitney Bowes as an example. It was one of my former employers. I know they've got a large presence on the site here, and I'm pretty sure they're going to have all the features that I'm talking about here. Are you seeing my screen with Pitney Bowes? Give me a thumbs up if you're seeing that. Okay, I see Diana's nodding. Okay, so you're going to go on their company page and make sure that you click on plus follow. So you're following their company page. You're going to scroll down, go into their about section. Now, if they do have, this one doesn't have it. I'm actually surprised they don't have it. Let me try Deloitte. I need to show, I'm looking for the notify recruiters that I'm interested in positions, and I want to find an organization that has that. Okay, here's one. So you're going to click on plus follow for the page. Then you're going to go under about and click on I'm interested. So that alerts recruiters at that company that you're interested in any open positions. So as they post jobs in the future, they're going to look at candidates that match their criteria. And I've actually seen this, and I did a video with a couple of friends who have access to LinkedIn Recruiter. I need to post it soon. But when recruiters are screening for candidates using that version of LinkedIn called LinkedIn Recruiter, they get candidates in separate categories. And there's the all bucket, there's the open to work. So the people that are matching the criteria who've said that they're open to work. There's the people who are highly engaged candidates with the company, and that's where this number comes in. So it puts you into a separate category. And then I think there's a fourth category. I can't remember what it is. But this is going to help you to be pulled up to the top of the recruiter stack. Okay. So that's two things you can do. Follow the page, click on interested in working with us in the future. The next thing you're going to do is look up employees who work at the company. And if I were you, I would try to find people who would work in the same department as the job that you're trying to apply for. So if I'm looking to work in marketing, I'm going to find other people who work in marketing at this company. And 2 to 3 people, invite them to connect with you on LinkedIn and try to make that human connection. Now, you might get lucky and you go to the company page and you might have people that are first level connections. Even better, because you know what you can do in here? Now you can message these people, and I would still do we want to just start that conversation up. So I might still do hey Meredith, how is 2025 going for you so far? So just a quick little warm up. And then when she replies back, she's going to let me know how things are going. And human nature, She's probably going to say, how are things going for you? And then I have an intro or doorway that's just open to me where I can now say, things are going okay. I'm actually looking for my next position in marketing leadership, and I see that there's an opening at Deloitte. Do you have any insight into the hiring process? All of these things that we're doing, how can this make you love LinkedIn as a job seeker? Because we're avoiding that black hole of job search. We're not just waiting for a recruiter to respond back. We're warming ourselves up to other employees who work at the company. We're increasing our visibility, and you're giving yourself some control back. I think that's the important thing. That black hole takes away the control. This gives you more control over the process. And by the way, not everyone does this. Like very few people do this actually. So you're going to rise up to the top of the resume stack, hopefully, but you're definitely going to get more visibility as a candidate. And that's really an important thing to focus on. All right, so that's my fourth tip. So far, we've talked about these are 5 ways to love LinkedIn as a job seeker. You're going to direct message connections, specifically maybe people from your last company or people you haven't spoken to in a while. You're going to request recommendations from those people who said, hey, Brenda, if you ever need anything, let me know, or people that were always really happy working with you. You're going to use the black hole antidote, which is getting engaged with the company, clicking on notify recruiters, trying to connect with or even message people who are employees of the company. That's the third one. And then let me get into the fourth tip now, which is inviting recruiters to connect with you. Now, did you know you can go into and do a search on LinkedIn? I'm going to type in recruiter, for example, and I might even put in a plus sign before it, which says you have to include the word recruiter in this search, and then type in the industry or the category that you're looking for work in. So I'm going to do plus recruiter plus marketing. I'm going to click on show all results. And then once that populates, I'm going to click on people. Now I'm looking for people I'm not yet connected with. So I'm going to click on second. Now I can see in here, there's 46,000 results. If I want, I can certainly fine tune this. I might just look at United States. I'm not going to look at just Metro Detroit because I know a lot of companies use recruiters that are located in different cities, Philadelphia, Chicago, LA. I don't need to be looking for recruiters just in my area, but I do want to look in my country. So I'm going to focus this on people who are in the United States. Now I've got 38,000 results that I can look at. Now, when you are a job seeker, you are probably aware that there are, would you say, a million or a bajillion different places to look for jobs? I'm not sure what the exact number is. I know it's over two. It's not just LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter. There's like a bajillion different places you can look for jobs. And positions aren't even sometimes posted publicly. They might just be put through a recruiter as well. If you're really feeling frustrated as a job seeker, this is a technique that can help you to love LinkedIn a little bit more because you're going directly to the source. And when we connect with recruiters on LinkedIn, what I would do is if you have the ability to add a note and say something like, hi, Amy, we haven't met yet, but I see that we share several common connections, including Don Lee. I might mention that in there. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Immediately after Amy connects, and I'm going to message her back. Thanks for connecting with me. I see that you're a recruiter specializing in marketing roles. I'm curious, do you have a jobs board where I could look for your open positions? I'm currently seeking a VP of marketing in Metro Detroit, right? And then wait and see what happens. Now, any good recruiter, they're going to reply back to you because recruiters, I hope you all know this, but recruiters are paid for by companies to fill vacancies. They are not here to support you as a job seeker. They might want to become your friend and stuff like that, but they are only getting paid if they fill vacant roles by the company that's paying them. So they're going to be more than willing to say, yep, here's my jobs board. If there's anything that's interesting to you that you're a fit for, let me know. Okay. So we don't have to rely on the bajillion different places to look for job postings. You can go directly to the source. These recruiters, make friends with them, get connected with them, ask them about their jobs board. And if they ever do reach out to you and they say, hey, Brenda, we've got a position that's a digital marketing coordinator role. And I know I'm a bit overqualified for that. I'm not really interested. I might say, thanks, Amy. Probably not a good fit for me, but do you mind if I share this into some job seeker groups? And I might put it into Diana's group or other places even. Make friends with them, be a good referral partner for them, and it will help with that relationship as well. So that's my fourth tip is to invite recruiters to connect with you on LinkedIn. Okay. My fifth and final tip, I'm actually going to give a two for in here, which is I want you to follow me on LinkedIn. If you're not already following me, go to my profile, click on the follow button. Along with that, hopefully you're already following Diana Stevens on LinkedIn. Make sure that you're following her as well. And Diana, I have to say, over the past probably 2 weeks, I've noticed she is just she's really a rock star on the platform. She's finding a lot of people who are commenting about being in career transition. She's tagging in a variety of career events and career strategy all star. She's tagging in me and Kenneth and Mindy and Sue. And she's really just got a great communication that's going on LinkedIn right now. And she's really doing a good job of connecting people with resources that are out there. So if you're not already doing so, I want you to follow both me and Diana. And that is my fifth and final tip for you. I'm going to stop the screen share here. And I think at this point, what I'd like to do is turn the floor back over to you, Diana, if you want to facilitate the Q&A. Does that sound okay to you?
That is good. And I have another tip in there too that is along the lines of following. When
Mhm.
you're thinking about following people, you could, when Brenda did the search of the particular company, you can also do a search of the job function, the industry and the job function, and you can see people that come up in that. And you can start looking at different people, maybe your first degree, your second degree connections, start there and go into their profile and look to see how many followers they have. And if they have a large number of followers, they're starting over and up, but really in the 5,000 to 10, even up to Brenda, she's got 68,000 followers. People who have a lot of followers have a large reach. And if you're getting their posts coming in, especially if they're subject matter experts in your industry, if you get when they're posting, you will get the posts coming through your feed if you're following them. And the idea is for you to read those posts and comment on those posts, make a thoughtful comment on that post, not just congratulations or something like that, but something that's about 1 or 2 lines that where you're providing some thought back to them. And be sure to put in the ampersand and type in their name, which will tag them, which will give added emphasis to that post and it will highlight it. And that's how you're engaging in the dialogue. And that's how you will get more noticed within that industry. And it starts elevating you as a person that's going to be engaging in dialogues about your industry, best practices, subject matter expertise, things like that. And I've been, to Brenda's point, I've been focusing on that type of strategy over the last few weeks. My engagement has gone up tremendously. And what I'm seeing coming through my feeds now, I'm getting a lot of third degree job seekers, which I would have not seen in my feed before, which are the people that I want to be connecting with, people who are in transition and giving them the information about what's out there for help for these communities. Because there's quite a number of us that do calls for the job seeker community. So just another tip. I'm going to pause now and ask if we have any questions. If you could raise your hand on anything on LinkedIn, anything else in your job search that you have questions about. We'll take a few minutes for Q&A. Everybody
Should they be
is,
doing the Zoom raise hand? Is that what you're looking for
you
in
can
here?
do the Zoom raise hand, or if you can't find it, you can do the Christopher's pointing to it. It should be in the middle of your bottom bar and it's lit up in green, and then your raise hand will go up. Stephen,
Hi,
hi.
thanks for the session. Appreciate the feedback too, Brenda. Question on timing of transition. So I was laid off in September of 24. I hadn't updated my end date on my last position as of yet, but I was networking with another coach and he highly suggested that I put an end date on. I at this point I don't want to put one of those kind of phony, I don't want to call it phony, but placeholder type jobs in there that I'm currently doing. I would have rather just left it open or close it and just have it for like the end of 2024. So just suggestions or feedback on kind of the timing of that.
Okay, I'm cracking my knuckles and pulling up my sleeves for this one, Stephen. All right, so first of all, nothing against the person that told you that advice. And I get why some people tell you that because you're not working there anymore. I get it. And your resume shows an end date. So why would you put an end date on your LinkedIn? And I totally get that. Now, LinkedIn is a marketing tool, it is not a legally binding document. Okay. I also know because I specialize in LinkedIn. This is all I do is LinkedIn. So I understand how the algorithm works, how the search works. I want you to come up in the most searches possible. And LinkedIn will actually say having a current employer in your experience section, you'll come up in like I don't know, 20% or 40% more searches. I don't know what their number is. But if you read that statement, basically what they're saying is if you don't have a current employer in your experience section, you're being penalized by search results. So now in your case, I pulled up your profile, I'm looking at it. You've already put an end date. So if you've already put an end date, that wall is down, the door is closed. We're not going to change it. You've already put an end date in there. But I do want to let you know that now you're not going to come up in as many searches on LinkedIn. So I want to give you the best chances of coming up in searches by recruiters and landing your next dream job faster. So I hear what you're saying. You don't want to put one of those open to work pages or something in your profile. My recommendation for you, Stephen, and for others, if you've already put an end date, is think about what other things are you doing right now while you're in career transition that you could add into your experience section. For example, have you joined any professional organizations? If so, add in member of American Marketing Association in that section. Another example, are you doing any volunteer work? Add in volunteer. Grosse Pointe Animal Adoption Society. I love dogs, so I'd probably be doing that right now. Maybe you serve on a board, are doing some community service work or something else, so you could put that inside there. The other thing I've seen people do, especially individuals that are maybe more experience rich, director level and above, VP and above, they might create a consulting page just as a placeholder to put into your experience section. And it might be like your initials S consulting. And then in the description section, you're going to put your targeted job title as the job title for that consulting business. In the description section, you're going to write out a sentence, something like, while I am looking for my next position as a merchandise planning director slash leader, I am taking on part-time and project work through my consulting business, SS Consulting. I just made that up. Now, are you really taking on project work? No, maybe you are, but maybe you're not, right? You're just using that as a placeholder because you understand that the algorithm is penalizing you for not having something in there. So there's a couple different routes that you can take. If you don't feel comfortable creating a consulting business page because you're really not doing that, then go one of the other avenues I gave you, either a volunteer, a membership, community service. If you don't have any of those things, join an organization, join your local chamber, find a professional organization to join, see if they have a reduced membership for people in career transition. Sometimes they'll even give you a membership for free while you're in there, but use something in there as a placeholder. Does that help, Stephen?
It does. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. One thing,
Perfect.
Brenda, are you still on my profile?
I am.
If you scroll down, my position at GLG there was really actually a placeholder. I actually did some work for them, but it was very intermittent based on the project aligning with my skill set and my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I used during COVID, I used that as a placeholder. I'm wondering, I am still signed up with them. I might be able to jump that back to the top as
Yeah, just go into that and take off the end date.
uh
Absolutely.
oh yeah, good call. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just
You
true.
don't
take the
have to
end
add
date
it in
off.
as a new one.
Just
Just
take off the
delete
end
the
date.
2022 end date. Make sure that you update the description because it says currently working as a retail and product category consultant. So make sure that you update that just with
Right.
something that's accurate. And again, I would use the statement, while I'm looking for my next merchandising leadership position, I'm taking on part-time and project work through GLG.
Perfect. Love it.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Charles, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, my question is related to Steven's question, which is I also officiate some sports, which I'm currently doing. So that's listed as my current job. My question is, how much is it worth creating that dummy sort of position of something that's more related to the field that I want to be in, or how does that play out?
Charles, I'm looking at your profile. So this is through the Illinois High School Association.
Yeah, I
Do
just
they have a company page on LinkedIn? Do you know?
I don't know that they do.
Okay. If they don't, again, I'm treating this as a marketing tool. This is not a legally binding document. If you can find another organization, is it hockey or are you doing other sports in there?
It's winter, so I'm doing hockey. There's also in the spring I do boys and girls lacrosse. In the fall I do field hockey and flag football.
Okay, so if there's, and I'm just looking up their page, it doesn't look like they have a page on LinkedIn, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So what you could do when you say dummy page, I'm gonna replace dummy with placeholder because I like the word placeholder from a marketing perspective better. But when we create a consulting business, a faux business, or something that's just a temporary placeholder for that, it's free to create that company page. You can link it to your profile, and then as soon as you're back to work, you can delete out the company page and delete it from your profile. Now, in this case, with the Illinois High School Association, if since they don't have a company page, two routes you could take.
Uh,
First is
Actually, they may. No,
okay.
it's
You
it
should
seems
check
like
that out.
people just have created a dummy organization with no graphic logo.
Yeah. They don't have the page set up yet, and it's just the logo that's on there. So you could just create CG Consulting or CG
Yeah.
Yeah.
Communications or CD Architecture or something. And you could have that as a placeholder and just say, well, I'm looking for my next full-time position as a pre-sales architect. I'm staying active as a high school sports official with the Illinois High School Association. So you can create your own. The goal here is that we want to have a page with a logo associated with it
Right.
that sits inside your experience section. Now, for you, Charles, I see that you do have USA Hockey as a current position. It says 2012 to present. So
Yep.
if you want, you could just move that up to the top. You have a current role in there, so you're not going to be penalized from search results, but you could certainly move that up to the top position if you wanted.
Okay, but so my question is still, is it
Mhm.
just having a role, or does the algorithm favor roles related to what you want to get to?
So what will happen is when a recruiter is looking up criteria, they're going to put in certain skills, industry backgrounds, things like that. So I think it's a combination of factors. It's not just having one individual role in one current employer. It's they're looking at your background and your experiences. But if you don't have a current position, my understanding is you're not coming up to the top of search results. So I don't think it needs to necessarily be in your industry. It just needs to be a current position, but I'm looking at this from both the computer perspective, which is having a current role, and then the human perspective, which is what are you writing inside there? Because a recruiter lands on your profile, what I don't want them to do, Charles, is go, oh, he left architecture and he's doing refereeing full time now. So I were you, I would keep USA Hockey in there, move it up to the top position, but then where it says registered ice hockey official for all youth levels and adults, in front of that, I would say, I'm looking for my next full-time position as a pre-sales architect in the Chicago area, or whatever it is. I'm staying active as a registered ice hockey official. So you see what I just did there?
Yeah.
I'm saying, hey, recruiters, I am looking for work and this is what I'm looking for, but I'm also staying busy, or I'm keeping active, I should say, by doing this other stuff on the side. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I will add that I know of some people who have been doing and put in their association work and been working, helping out with schools. And they wound up getting a substitute teaching position. And they were supplementing their unemployment and supplementing their time out with substitute teaching, some of
Yep.
which evolved into full time. Now, these are people who enjoyed doing that and they were involved and they enjoyed working with people who are in school, but I have seen that happen as well. There was a good question in the chat from Philip Law, and he asked about what are your thoughts on including this stopgap work on LinkedIn profile, but it's more jobs like Lyft driving, retail food service, admin work, that kind of a thing, where it's clearly it's not consulting work. It's that type of
Yeah.
work. What are your thoughts on that, Brenda?
I want to see, what do you think on that first, Diane? I have some thoughts, but what do you think about it?
I think there's a way to spin some of that, but some of those companies are pretty big name, Lyft
Hmm.
and Uber and things like that. You could have it, but yet it's going to be, you're going to need to explain that. While I was in transition, it becomes a matter of, for some reason, I don't know why it is that it occurs like most of these recruiters and hiring managers act like they've never, number one, never lost a job. Number
Hmm.
two, never had to find some kind of money job
Yeah.
to come in because they must have been independent millionaires that they could just, they have to get on everybody's case about what were you doing every minute of the day. I've never agreed with that philosophy at all. So I would probably put it on there in some kind of massaging way, and that's all on how you word it. But to have the
Hmm.
gap, That's one of my, not to have the gap. That's my thought. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think, and this question was from Philip, I would say personal preference, whether you want to put it on your profile or not. If it were me, I am a marketer. I'm always like an opportunistic marketer. How do I spin this in the best way possible? I would put, link it to the Lyft page. Let's just say example Lyft. And then in the job title section, I might just specify. Now, let's say I'm looking for graphic design work and I just did Lyft and it was just food delivery or whatever it is. In the experience field, I might just say part-time project work. So I'm not even going to specify exactly what it was. And then in the description, I'm going to say, remember what I said before? I'm going to say it again. While I'm looking for my next full-time job as a graphic designer in Metro Detroit, I took on part-time work through Lyft and focused on these skill building areas: customer service, understanding the use of technology to support client growth, evaluating customer feedback to continually improve the service experience. So I'm going to figure out, what did I learn from that role that I can use in my next position? Or what are transferable skills that I demonstrated as a part of that role that I could use in my future career as well? Now that's optional. You might say, I don't want people to know I was doing Lyft. And I don't think, to Diana's point, I don't think there's anything wrong with you doing whatever you need to do to get money coming in. And sometimes we got to put our pride on a shelf and just say, I need money because I need rent. I've got car insurance. I've got a mortgage payment. Unemployment is not keeping me in there. You got to take a job in retail or Lyft. These services nowadays are so good. Like, you can sign up and drive around and make 50 to 100 bucks a day.
Yeah.
Without having any training or anything going. So you got to do what you got to do. It's what you feel comfortable with putting on your LinkedIn profile. But again, as a marketer, I want to put that in the best light possible that says, hey, recruiters, yeah, I am still looking for work and this is what you can hire me for. But while I am looking for that work, I am bringing in money. I am being scrappy and I'm getting out there and I am meeting new people. And I hear so many drivers like Uber and Lyft, when they're doing like deliveries, they're meeting people, they're exploring their local geographic area, they're doing networking, the shop owners are getting to know them. So spin it, put a spin on it if you feel comfortable.
That's good. David, real quickly, because we need to move on. Your question? Where are you? There you are. Can you unmute? There you go.
Yeah, I just did. I just want to add a comment to the last one about the bridge, the Uber, Lyft, DoorDash type jobs. I may well get there myself within a couple of months, probably will, but I don't think it's really helpful to put it on your resume or on your LinkedIn profile, because those are supposed to be marketing yourself towards the big goal, right? The analyst, the business analyst, or whatever it is. So I don't see how working for DoorDash or Uber really furthers that.
I think it will. Sure. I think it really depends on how you spin it and what you do. And that's something that we can certainly talk with you one-on-one about. If any of you have that situation and you want to learn how to spin it, we can certainly do that. But it is an interesting thing. How's that going to be perceived, and what is perception? It's going to be interesting. But I just want to close this out here with a couple of slides to put some things into context. And just bear with me a minute. Thumbs up if you can see what I'm sharing. Great. Perfect. Okay. Wonderful. So I just wanted to close this out here with a little bit of context around mindful job alignment, what I'm up to, and some exciting new offerings that we have coming up. So a little bit about my story. I actually have about a 30-year career in corporate America and national account management, selling to retailers. And then for the last 14 years, I've been in software as a service, also related to the retail and CPG industries. Currently, I am with Lee Hecht Harrison as a branding specialist, and I am working part-time on branding resumes for clients of Lee Hecht Harrison, which is an outplacement firm, and I'm also working on mindful job alignment. A little bit about my story of how I started mindful job alignment. I had my story in 5 pictures on this slide. I had about a 15-year odyssey with my mother with Alzheimer's, unfortunately, and that is a very long path to tread with a loved one, and it was very, very challenging. And during that time, as in picture number 2, finances were always out of my grasp. It always felt like there was a lot more outgo than inflow. Alzheimer's is extremely expensive. What also was happening during that time in picture number 3 was I was downsized 5 times between 2004 and 2014. I went through outplacement 3 times. And the biggest question that I had at that time was, why me? Which is quite well depicted in that picture, which set me on a bit of a journey to really understand and make sense of what was going on. I took a lot of classes. I did a lot of energy work. I studied Reiki. I am a Reiki master teacher. Studied a lot of Buddhist philosophy and theology, and also was very active in my church as a professional singer in the choir, and did a lot of reading and a lot of studying. And so what I was really looking for, which is in picture number 5, which was a Zen calmness and to really stabilize my life. I went back to school and I completed my doctorate in holistic coaching. And I wrote my doctoral dissertation on a mindful approach to job search, combining the mindfulness techniques along with the tactical steps of job search. And I started Mindful Job Alignment in 2022. I am involved in a book on Amazon. It's with Mission Matters, which spotlights entrepreneurs. I wrote chapter 10 and volume 10 of the book, which came out last year. And my chapter is on understanding the grief caused by career transitions, where I explore quite a few ways to process through the transition and move forward. I have a philosophy about job search that it's not only an external process. I think that's what a lot of people hear about all the time, and it really can make us crazy when we're thinking about how many jobs we need to be applying to and keeping in action. But there's also an internal aspect to this, which is body, mind, spirit. There's a lot to be said for reconciling the transition, incorporating mindfulness and gratitude techniques, creating that calm space in the home where you can read, meditate, and journal, creating a value-based job vision, and a job search action plan. I just want to talk about a couple thought starters for you to think about. The first one is, do you know how the market is in your industry right now? And do you know how long a job search can last based on the level that you were at in your last position? And do you have a contingency plan in place to be able to weather the time of the transition that you may be facing? Do you have mindset support structures in place? And by that, how are you going to cope with the ups and downs of search? Because as you well know, and as we've been talking about on this call, there are a number of different things happening in a number of different ways that you want to be able to mindfully cope with those stresses. Do you have a stress relief plan in place? Do you know that now, maybe you're not working for a company, but do you know that now you become a walking brand? Yes, you do. You are branding yourself, and it's key to know how to present yourself and to understand what your next action steps need to be in the branding of yourself. There's power in numbers, as we've talked about with the networking. Keep going with your networking. Do you know how to expand and leverage your network for your next position? And what steps are you going to take to increase the networking? Last but not least, would you believe that people do procrastinate in their job search? And the reason is not lack of time. It really has to do with not having a defined plan of how you're going to move forward. An action plan boosts productivity, and it also helps to prevent burnout. What I teach, Mindful Job Alignment, is really an 8-part pathway that can be boiled down into 3 different areas. The first part is mindset, and that really deals with understanding the employment landscape and market, transitioning mentally and emotionally, and then creating the calm space where you're going to be meditating, reading, journaling, and just ideating on your next steps. The second part is all about branding, the values-based personal job vision, a value-aligned career plan, and then your personal brand on resume, LinkedIn, and networking. And the final 2 steps are all about implementation. I talk about incremental income, how you can make money on the side while you are in your search, networking, action plan, and manifesting the vision within action steps, and then staying motivated to keep the action plan going. So what I've done is I've distilled all of those steps down into a concise 3-day format. And I have a masterclass that I'm going to be launching the last week of February, 25th, 26th, and 27th. I do it on Zoom, and I limit it to a small crowd of about 30 participants to facilitate good interaction going on. It's going to run from 11 to 12:30 Central Time, 12 to 1:30 Eastern Time. And what that's going to mean is that 1 hour of that is going to be content, And then I've added on another 30 minutes optional if people would like to network, ask questions, whatever, so that we're not rushed. Day one on Tuesday is going to be all about the mindset. We're going to talk about state of the market. We're going to talk about time statistics on how long you could potentially be out of work, reconcile the transition, and talk about these coping strategies and mindset. And yes, there is a little bit of homework to make lists and do some soul searching and do a brain dump of where you're at. Day two is all about branding. We're going to talk about your personal values and a vision for those values and how you want your job to look. Resume, all about the ATS format and how you need to have your resume formatted accordingly to make it through those systems so that they will accurately read your resume and not see a blank piece of paper. We're going to talk about LinkedIn. We're going to embellish on what Brenda talked about today. And we're going to talk about a posting strategy for you to be connecting with the proper people in your search. There'll be a little bit of homework after that. Day three is all about implementation. My favorite subject, which is incremental income during your job search, ways to make extra money, networking, action plan, and we have motivational steps, and then we have graduation. So it's a chance to build your mindset, resume, LinkedIn, and income plan in 3 hours. I want to give you a little more detail about this. I am doing this for a very reasonable price of $67 for all 3 days, plus networking. And I want to point out that there are a lot of bonuses that you're going to get with this. Bonuses are valuable. There's a video recording of each day, which is posted and which you will have access to for a lifetime, not just 48 or 72 hours. There's a resource workbook for each day where I've got it filled with websites, checklists, things like that to be used as a resource in your search. The values test is a test that we take. It's very quick, but you will have that. The Excel format daily action plan, which has formulas in it where you can put in goals for every day. It's by section. So there's a part for the administrative piece of job search, there's a part for networking, there's a part for interviewing, targeted companies, contacting people, plus there's an entire section on the stress relief techniques and tracking those. There'll be PDFs of each day's presentation, and the caveat that I want to make on this is I've got presentations that are between 40 and 60 pages long, and it's not just one picture on a page. There's tangible, very actionable information on each one of those slides, and you will get a copy of the entire thing in PDF. Certificate of completion, which you can put on your LinkedIn profile under certifications, and you will have lifetime access for all of the above. I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you in this masterclass, and I think we have a couple people on the call that were in the last class. And I think Sherilyn, I think you're on the call.
Yes, so my name is Sherilyn Sharoyan out of Minnetonka, Minnesota, and I was on Diana's masterclass. And what I really got out of the class was the information she shared with us on so many different topics and so many different levels in a very palatable way. It wasn't overwhelming, so it was very palatable. But I thought she did a wonderful job of creating a community, because what I'm learning through my job search is it takes a community. And I don't, since being involved with Diana and meeting her a couple of months ago, I don't feel so alone. To one of Diana's slides, why me? It's not me. It's just the job market. I really appreciated what the community Diana has created. And I'll close out on the fact each of our session, people stayed online to network and share resources and ask questions. Nobody dropped off early. People were really engaged, and I was really impressed with that. Thumbs up to Diana.
Thank you.
I highly recommend her class, her classes.
Thank you. There's a QR code on the bottom here you can scan, and I'll put a link in the chat for the landing page for this, and then I will be sending out an email for everyone who's registered about the information on this class. And I just want to remind you that even though sometimes it feels like it, your job transition does not need to hurt. I do these job seeker groups. Every second Friday of the month, I usually have a speaker come in and speaking on a topic on the second Friday of the month. I'm also going to start another one on the fourth Friday of the month, which will be strictly networking, Q&A, wins, just for everybody to share. I'll be sending out a Zoom link for that. By signing up for these on the second Friday, you're on my mailing list, and I'm not spamming people and sending out a whole bunch of things. I usually send out newsletter information and whatnot, but I do like to keep people informed about as I'm increasing my offerings and things like that. I'm going to put my information back into the chat again. And it would be a good idea to save the chat again, because as Christopher had mentioned, is that when you're on these calls, the chat that you're saving will be inclusive of the people who are currently on the call. So currently we have 21 participants on this call, and those will be the people who will be getting the saved chat information that you're putting in at this point in time. So there's a time piece about temporally. When you're watching these chats, I would suggest saving them ongoingly through the meeting so that you have the information for everybody who's on the call at that time. And I just put the information into the chat about my job seeker groups, my contact information. Please feel free to contact me on LinkedIn, and then the information about the masterclass. Looking forward to it. I enjoyed the last one. It was tremendous. We gave a lot of information out. There was a lot of good dialogue. And I think there's a lot of things that people just need to know in more detail about the job search. And I'm coming from the perspective of a person who's been through it 5 times. And to be perfectly honest, I've been through it now 7 times because of the market. That's the perspective I'm using. And I love working with people from the outplacement perspective as well. Did I hear a question?
Yeah, on the second and fourth Fridays of the month, is that in your LinkedIn group somewhere? Where what I'm going
to do is send out a separate invite for the fourth Friday.
Yeah.
And I think I've got everybody in the email. I have 125 people now on my email list who've signed up for these job seeker, this job seeker group. Okay. So in Zoom, I need to send out a separate invitation for the fourth Friday, because I attend Brenda's job seeker meeting on the first Friday of the month. So I don't want to start having it conflict with her meeting. So that's why it's going to be set as the fourth Friday. Does that make sense? It's just a Zoom thing. They don't allow you to pick second and fourth Fridays. You can do it bi-weekly. When the months change, it conflicts with her meeting. So I'm going to do that. And then the masterclass will run every month. I'm going to run it, probably 2 of them, one during the week, which was popular. And then I'm going to run another one on Saturdays, same content, but that'll be a block of time, 3 hours with a break. And that will be for also drawing in people who are employed but unhappy. And then I'm probably going to start a job seeker group in the evening for people who are either unemployed or people who are employed but want to leave their job. So that will facilitate networking with people who are already with companies, and that will probably start up in March. So those are some things to watch for. I do also have a newsletter that I publish both on my business page monthly, and then on my personal page, I do that every Sunday on different topics to do with mindfulness, stress relief, job search, and information on the market, because I think market is very important, and really understanding potentially how long your job search could last. And that seems to be coming up as a major topic in a poll that I recently put out on LinkedIn, that a lot of people really wanted to understand the market conditions. And so that actually was number 1, and resume and mindset was number 2, and resume was number 3. I was surprised, but that's good. It's a good thing, because that's what I work in, is mindset. That's where we're at. So I'm perfectly happy to stay on. I want to be conscious of everyone's time, but I am available if you're available. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions in the next few minutes. I am recording this session, and this session will be put up on my YouTube channel. And Brenda, I want to thank you so much for joining us and all your tips on LinkedIn. You're always such a fountain of knowledge on LinkedIn and understanding that algorithm and how we can best work around that. I always feel like in some ways I'm working around that LinkedIn algorithm to get those posts out there.
Yeah, happy to help you. And it's changing all the time. And the big thing is we're not trying to game the system with the algorithm, but I think it's important to understand the rules as it relates to how do you get the best amount of reach and whatnot on the platform. And I'm just really proud of you, Diana. You're doing such a great job and you're getting so
Thank
much
you.
increased reach and visibility, which is so well deserved. So I really do commend you. And I want to just encourage everyone, if you're not already following and connect with Diana, make sure you're doing so. Click on her bell notification because then you're going to get updates when she does post. You'll get a notification of that as well, and great resources from her there.
Okay, good. Did you put your information in the chat? Yeah, there you go. Good. Somebody was asking for Brenda's information as well. We've got a whole group of coaches that work with Brenda. Myself, Kenneth Lang, my colleague who also works at Lee Hecht Harrison, and Mindy Stern and Sue Griffey, and then Linda Brubaker, who does a weekly lunch and learn. I think a lot of you are familiar with hers. And there's a couple of other coaches, Paul Sakala and Joey Himmelfarb, that are on Brenda's calls, and we all help each other out and whatnot. But I'm a corporate employee turned let's build this business on the side over a number of years, and I did this as my retirement plan. That was my personal, in addition to my mess became my mission with regards to going through the downsizing so many times and wanting to have more emotional support in the job search process, which I found was lacking in the traditional way of the external job search. So that's what led me down this path. And I'm a very big proponent of when you're in transition, what else can you do to make money? And we talk about that in the first day of my masterclass, the steps of unemployment and understanding the rules of your state unemployment, and then finding part-time work. And then I just actually had a chat yesterday with Illinois State Unemployment because I don't know, some of you noticed this, but if we're out of work on unemployment from around the new year, that the benefits change because they increase the benefits in some states after the new year. So all of a sudden I got a little more money, not much, like $10 more. But I called them to talk to them about the impact of part-time work on my unemployment benefits and to get clear on my timeline. So there's just all kinds of things you can do while you're in transition. And I just believe that the more that you look at and try to do and keep yourself busy out there with ways to monetize your knowledge, your hobbies, things like that, makes the time go faster. And when getting back to work and doing something engages your mind, it makes you feel better. And it will change your perspective on your job search because then if you don't hear from somebody, it's not such a crushing blow. You can move on. It's like hunting and sales. You just move on to the next prospect. And that's what I'm hoping to get to and with people is that they understand it doesn't have to be a devastating process. It really is from a spiritual perspective. You're being called to do something new. And that's why these things happen, in addition to the financial aspect of companies needing to downsize and right size. But when you look at the number of people that are being downsized right now between Meta, which just let a whole bunch of people go, Google, Salesforce, and Estee Lauder. I don't know if any of you have heard about this. They're letting over 7,000 people go, the cosmetic company. And that is predominantly in China, but it's been in all the trade papers that I follow. 7,000 people are going to be let go from Estee Lauder. Now, as the retail field is completely shrinking, so the stores are closing up. And as Macy's closes their stores, there goes the Estee Lauder counter because you can't have a cosmetic counter in a closed store, right? So that's what happens. The whole playing field starts shrinking. And that's what you have to be very mindful of. If you're in an industry that is going through this kind of thing, then you need to start looking at how you're going to monetize other skills, because sometimes that just happens and you have to pivot. And that's why a lot of copywriters are going through this right now with AI. That's the other thing I see all over the feeds. When you start following more people, you will see a lot more trends. You will see what's happening in other industries. You will see what's going on, and you can learn from it, read about it, and then pivot, maybe look for an opportunity. If you have skill sets in a growing area, or you would have an interest and you'd like to develop some skills in that area, There you go. And that's another thing about the LinkedIn courses. They're all free. I would highly recommend spending some time, searching through there and seeing what courses that you'd like to take to upskill. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, David, but I think you are one of the star pupils upskilling and learning new things during the time that you've been in transition. Your posts are great about
I do what I can when
it's
I
like a
can.
weekly certification you're getting. It's
Yeah.
just brilliant of
I
what
take
you're
advantage of
doing.
all the free stuff.
Yeah, but there is a lot of free stuff on
Mhm.
LinkedIn, and those courses are free. And you can put those badges right up on your certifications. And when you put that in there, LinkedIn has an icon, so it goes right in there. And people look at that. That's important to know what you're doing with, once again, they want to know what you've been doing with your time as if it's any of their business, but they still want to know. Those are just my thoughts on it, but there's just a lot you can do. I love to help people. I was on a lot of job search work teams and outplacement, and I was on these teams with 15, 16 people, and we would come in every week with what we had done for the previous week. We would come in with a list of 3 targeted companies that we wanted to have help networking into, and then we would talk about what we had planned for the next week. It was like an accountability group every single week. And I went through that a couple different times, of course, with outplacement, and then I was in some groups here in Chicago that used to offer those. This is all pre-pandemic. And I thought they were all very helpful, but what was missing was the emotional support. I actually wound up in my last go around in 2014. I went over to Jewish Vocational Services. I'm not Jewish, but I went there because they had a big job seeker help. And they had licensed clinical social workers who were on staff. So they dealt with both the emotional and the tactical side of job search. And it was just the right help at the right time. And because I was going through everything with my mother, and it was just too much caving in on me at one time. And that's why I did it. I did not find the help through traditional job search routes because it's like nobody else had the same problems I was having. Even back in 2014, I was with people who were in job search, people in their 50s mainly and early 60s in the groups, and nobody yet was going through the elder care. Now, my parents were older, but no one was going through what I was going through. And now they are, but at that time they weren't. So that's one of the reasons why I really do appreciate both the mindful support and the other support. And it's important to have both. Some people don't need it. Some people aren't having any problems. Everybody's situation is different. But when you read those feeds of people who've been downsized, you will see what people are going through. And my advice is to reach out, see who you can help. If you can help, if you're in an industry, if for one of them, it's good karma to pay it forward. And it will come back to you in a positive way when you help other people. And that's why I'm trying to bring more people together in these groups and provide knowledge. Once again, we just keep going. We just keep networking and keep talking, and it's all wonderful. And Trisha, you're doing good too. She was in my master class too, so it was good.
Yay!
Yeah,
Awesome.
we had a good time. We're gonna.
Me
The
too.
other thing I'm going to start up after the master classes, after I've done a few of them, I'm going to start an accountability group, which will be patterned after the job search work teams, where people come in with their activity for the week, what they've done, and that kind of thing to keep it moving forward. So stay tuned for all that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because I think it's very easy to fall off the horse because you get so busy with busy work. But if you have somebody that you have to, or a group that you have to share, okay,
Mhm.
I did ABC this week. Next week, I want to be held accountable for doing XYZ. So I think that's an excellent idea. Sign me up. Okay.
We'll do that. I'm figuring that one out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to help people so much, and you try to find line as any career coach does in this industry with I'm coming from a couple different points of view. One is my whole background is in retail, mass market retail, right? And I sold socks for Hanes for 8 years, and I'm used to keeping price points affordable for everybody. What would I have paid when I was in my job search, and or what can I offer at no cost to bring people together? So those are the types of things I'm exploring. I'm going to start plugging in things during the month. But if you ever have, if anyone approaches you about spending and charging a couple $1,000s to redo a resume, please do not engage with that. There's no reason for that. There's plenty of information about how to format your resume It's not hard. Quite frankly, it's a very simple concept. You don't have any lines or graphics on that resume. There's certain symbols that don't work. The ampersand won't read. The front slash won't read. Underlining won't read. If you put section headers in your dividing lines in your resume, what happens is, what I mean by it won't read, it doesn't read below it. So let's say you have all of your contact information up in a header and it's in the header function of Word, like what Sherilyn's showing. None of that will read in ATS. So what happens is
$1,100 for this.
they're getting a blank page is what they're getting. And that's why you don't hear back from people. So there's the idea of, and I think everybody on this call is old enough to remember the old WordPerfect program where you had the text format and you had the regular format. Think of ATS as the text format of WordPerfect. It's everything is plain, but then you can have the pretty version that you email to people as an attachment or that you hand to somebody when you go into interview. Okay. Because you want to get through that electronic sorting system. So anything that you're applying for on a website that you're attaching, it should be done in a very ATS compliant format. And that's what I do all day long. I revise resumes for Lehigh Harrison and put them into that format. And then I'm doing calls for them 2 days a week, strictly for the clients, where we're explaining what we did. Because in many cases, their resumes have been these beautiful graphic masterpieces, but it's never going to make it through. So that's just a tip on the resume piece. Go back and check your resume and make sure, because that's the first step, is it making it through all that sorting software.
Real quick,
Yep.
Diane,
Yep.
I have a question. I know we need to wrap it up, but
Yep.
quick question here. I'm opening this question up to the whole group.
Okay.
What are the thoughts on all of these massive federal employees layoffs and buyouts? How does everyone see it impacting the job market and us here on the private sector? How that could impact our job search?
Federal employees have 9 months of severance, basically, which is unheard of in corporate America, unless you're
Well,
up in the
if it's
C-suite.
even budgeted for, if it's even
Yeah,
budgeted.
the budget was there, so letting them go is going to save the budget, which is how they're going to pay for that probably. But we haven't really seen a big uptick yet at Lehigh Harrison because it just not happened this week, 75,000. Depends on who's got that government contract in terms of outplacement. I'm sure they're going to get something from some of the companies. But that experience is very different than corporate America. So there's like a whole mindset shift that has to go on, and it's a skill set transfer in a lot of ways. There are resume, right? And we've actually gotten some communication on how to work with the federal resume and how to turn it into the corporate resume. We're starting to get some instruction from that. I'm personally expecting an uptick in that. I had one person from NASA that I've done so far. She was an event planner, which can easily be translated into corporate. But how they used to do the events for NASA was different than how you do it in corporate America, but still some of it's similar. Anyway, not to digress, but it'll be a matter of, where those skill sets are going to transfer. So it remains to be seen yet how much that's going to flood the market, how that's going to affect everything. They also have the opportunity to interview cross-functionally for other positions within the government. And so for the percentage of them that were high performing and have a clean record, they don't dig up anything in their record, then they be able to land. Their biggest hurdle will be the cross-functional skills transfer, but also the culture, because federal culture is very bureaucratic with a lot of rules and regulations and boxes that they have to fit into, and heavy processes. And so a bigger company would probably be the better place for them to cross over into, because that's going to be more bureaucratic and more similar to what they had in government. But it'll be a skill set transfer. I think they've already got skills administratively and other skills with communication and cross-functional collaborations and things like that. So they'll already have some skills that are transferable. The one that is a little bit harder to transfer are when the veterans come out and they transfer, especially people who've been in the Army on the front line. Translating that into, then it becomes leadership soft skills, things like that. Yeah, it remains to be seen. They're getting the 9 months of severance were in February, right? So September. So when I think we're going to see the bump on this is going to be later in summer and then going on into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter. And you're going to have that, plus you're going to have the Boeing people, plus the Meta people. And I would say that the Meta people probably got good packages, hopefully. The sad thing about the Meta is that I feel sorry for the Meta people and the fact that they publicized that we're letting go the low performing people. And that's not necessarily true from what I'm seeing in the people who have been downsized, who posted on LinkedIn. They all had meets expectations or exceeded expectations reviews. So somewhere along the line, the media is twisting that. And that makes it bad for them because they have to overcome that stigma of that. And because it sticks in people's minds, it's stupid. So there's a lot of them coming into the market, but that's going to affect the tech people. I've had a couple resumes from Meta that I did, and they weren't baby boomers. These are all Gen Z, millennial age. They're not boomers. Google, same way. Boeing is a very specific industry. They have to go to Northrop Grumman or GM or one of the other very technical, very mechanical companies because that's their skills transferring over there. It's a very small pool of companies in manufacturing that would be into that. And Northrop Grumman is the closest one to Boeing. Whoever else is making planes, but Boeing is the biggest making those planes. And the knowledge that those people have, I've done a couple resumes from Boeing, and the engineers, it's very specific. It's a niche type of thing. So we'll have to see. I'm watching it very closely. Right now, they've just been deciding who's taking the package. And the risk they run is that if they don't take the package, then they won't get that package later if that position is eliminated. So these are people that, obviously felt they could move on and it worked for them to take the package. We'll see what happens on that. Right now, I think it's the department that really was hit by it.
USAID.
USAID, right.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then Department of Education is next, and then Department of Defense.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be others with that. But it's no different than corporate America when they look at the books, they look at everything, and then they start reorganizing. How many times we've seen this happen a million times in corporate America?
From the technology field, it's merger acquisition, cut,
Right.
cut. It's so common in my industry. But yeah, I was just curious, even though they're federal employees, us in the private sector, do you see
It
it?
depends on where the market is at come third quarter.
Okay.
September
Okay.
is the biggest hiring month of the year, according to a lot of recruiters. It surpasses January. I've heard that for years. And because they want to get everybody in by the fourth quarter. So yeah, it could be, it depends on the industry. It depends on where they're going to be looking. There could be a flood going on. Right now, technology is flooded. There's so many good technology people out there because there's so many people being let go. And the other place that's flooded is the copywriting. People who are doing copywriting because of all the AI. We'll see how it goes. We'll just have to keep figuring that out. I thought the other night, I think I'm positioned in a good spot. We've got more resumes than we know what. We just had a flood of resumes yesterday. I've got 11 of them sitting in my inbox to do.
Yeah, I keep telling you, you're in the sweet spot.
No, redoing them and just check because you have to have a resume. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bought that because I really wanted to do the mindfulness coaching, and I wanted to get into Lee Hecht Harrison so much, and this position came open, and Kenneth worked with me, helped me get on his team, the networking, and I love it. I didn't know that I would. It's one of those things that you don't know what you don't know till you get into it, and I love it. Because I get to know these people, and I get to help them, and I get to massage their experience and whatnot, and make them look good on paper. And then some of them, and then if they come to my branding call, I get to talk to them, and I love it. It's a feel good moment. I never thought I would have that reaction to it, but I am, and I'm like, wow, all of a sudden I can do that. And what I've also learned is I've gotten better at proofreading. And so I'm looking at doing proofreading part-time. I'm taking a proofreading course. Now this is like completely different than what I was doing, but I'm liking it. And at the same time, I get to help people. And that's really what I enjoy doing.
Mhm.
If I can give a few kernels of information to people and help them with certain things and help them in their path, I really enjoy that. So that I think that's the calling that I was being pulled to for a while, but I was completely blind to it for a number of years. I'm not now. So now I'm just all about hoping that it ramps up.
Awesome.
So,
Thank you
but
for the session
we are at
today.
1:30. So I thank
Okay.
everyone for staying on the call, and please reach out with any questions, and please be sure to save the chat and then connect with people and have a virtual coffee with people that you think would be good and that you like. And we will continue these gatherings to come together. So I will work on that. I'm glad everybody enjoyed. Thank you.
Everybody,
Good to
happy
see you. Thank you. Yes,
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Absolutely. Have a good weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.